All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a simple math problem, a problem that's totally rewriting the rules of modern warfare, turning billion-dollar military hardware into, well, sitting ducks. It's forcing the world's superpowers to rethink the very definition of winning a war.
I mean, that sounds completely absurd, right? Just a ridiculous waste of resources. But here's the thing. This isn't just some clever analogy. It's exactly what's happening on the high seas right now, where the most advanced navies in human history are facing a threat that makes their multi-million-dollar defenses look kind of stupid.
And that really is the central question here. How did we get to a point where the basic logic of military spending seems to have completely collapsed? A point where spending more money can actually make you lose faster. The answer, you'll see, lies in a new kind of weapon and a whole new kind of math. To really get what's happening, you have to start with the economics of it all. Because this isn't just a battle of high-tech gear. It's a battle of budgets. And right now, for one side, the numbers just don't add up. Okay, just look at this slide. The imbalance is staggering. On one side, you've got an Iranian-made Shahed drone. It costs maybe $20,000. On the other side, the thing you use to shoot it down, a single Patriot interceptor missile. The price tag, $4 million. That means you are spending 200 times more to destroy the threat than it costs to build the threat in the first place. And here's why that's so crucial. This turns into a war of attrition. An enemy can just keep launching dozens of these cheap, what some call suicide mopeds, to deliberately drain your extremely expensive and, more importantly, limited supply of interceptor missiles. Your multi-billion-dollar war machine is basically being bled dry by something that costs less than a new car. So let's take a closer look at the weapon at the very heart of this revolution. And it's not some stealth bomber or a hypersonic missile. Nope. It's been nicknamed the flying lawnmower. And the reason it's so incredibly effective is that it's brilliantly simple. The Shahed drone isn't what you'd call gold-plated. It's built with commercial, off-the-shelf parts you could probably find online. It's got a basic piston engine that makes it really loud and pretty slow. It's literally made of plastic and carbon fiber. But you know what? It works. It carries a decent warhead over a huge distance, and it's so cheap you can build them by the thousands. Its greatest weakness is actually its greatest strength. And because they're so cheap, you can use a tactic that's almost impossible to stop. It's called a salvo launch. You don't need to be clever or sneaky and try to get past the enemy's defenses. You just throw dozens or even hundreds of these drones at a target all at once. The goal isn't to outsmart the radar. It's to just totally overwhelm it with so many targets that it just can't keep up. So you end up with this unbelievable contrast. On one side, you have the pinnacle of 20th century military power, these billion-dollar naval fleets. And on the other, you have these cheap, disposable drone threats that are changing the entire game. But the story doesn't stop there, because where there's a new problem, a new solution is never far behind. And in this case, the big innovation isn't coming from the usual superpowers. It's coming from a place where you could say the student has become the master. You see, for the last few years, Ukraine has been forced to operate in what some experts are calling the world's most violent laboratory for this new kind of warfare. Without a huge stockpile of $4 million missiles, they had no choice. They had to innovate, and they did it at lightning speed. So meet their solution. These are specialized interceptor drones, like this one called the Sting. It's not some complex missile system. It's a high-speed quadcopter built for one job and one job only. Find a Shahed drone and physically ram it out of the sky. It's a brute force solution to a brute force problem. Okay, so remember this number. The old way, the Lamborghini versus bicycle method, cost $4 million for one kill. It's completely unsustainable. Now look at this. The cost of a Ukrainian Sting interceptor drone is about $2,000. No, that's not a typo. $2,000 to take out a $20,000 or $30,000 threat. And just like that, the entire math problem flips on its head. The impossible economic problem is solved. It's now cheaper for the defender to intercept the drone than it is for the attacker to launch it. The whole strategic advantage gets completely reversed. So this shift is creating a whole new paradigm for conflict. We are absolutely entering a future where the rules are being written not in Pentagon war rooms, but in workshops and software labs. And this technology is evolving at a mind-blowing pace. We're now seeing the rise of what's called terminal autonomy.
This is where AI systems on the drone itself allow it to navigate by basically looking at the ground and comparing it to internal maps. This means it doesn't need a GPS signal anymore, which makes it almost impossible to stop with traditional electronic jamming. And the next wave is already on its way. You've got 3D printers just running constantly, churning out drone parts. New ways to communicate, like Wi-Fi, which uses light instead of radio waves, kind of like a super advanced Morse code, are creating unjammable data links. And swarm intelligence is right around the corner, which will let hundreds of these things operate as a single, coordinated hive mind. All of this has led Ukraine to develop a really fascinating geopolitical strategy. They call it strategic reciprocity. They are now exporting their drone hunting know-how. And why would they do that? Well, because every drone that an ally shoots down somewhere else is one less drone that can be shipped to the front lines in Ukraine. They're basically fighting parts of their war by proxy, by stopping the threat before it even gets close to them. It's brilliant. And the ultimate result of all of this innovation is something military theorists are starting to call the transparent battlefield. It's an environment where thousands of cheap, persistent drones mean that nothing can move, nothing can hide, and absolutely nothing remains unobserved for very long. So the real takeaway is this. The old logic of just might makes right is being replaced by a much colder, harder calculation. Yeah, high-tech is great. But in a war of attrition, good enough and cheap will win almost every time. If you can't win the math, you simply can't win the war. And this brings us to one final, really provocative question. If a swarm of $10,000 drones can overwhelm a multi-billion-dollar warship, what does that really mean for the cornerstones of modern naval power? I mean, what's the point of a 100,000-ton aircraft carrier in this new world? That is the billion-dollar math problem that everyone is now scrambling to solve.